What should we call this one?
This one is
Toes Crackalackin?
Them Toes Be Crackalackin.
Toes Be Crackalackin.
It's so good.
It is so good.
Crackalackin, rip rappin'. I sound raspy McNasty right now, and I don't know why.
Because you were screaming all weekend.
Yeah, I've been screaming all weekend, but for good reasons. But no, yeah. So it was the craziest shit. So we have a blast at the concert. We went to Imagine Dragons. Mm-hmm. Kids had an out of body experience. I also went and saw Casey Musgraves on Tuesday.
Yeah. So
who the fuck am I right now?
I know.
Yeah. Okay. So we leave early because you have to with that venue, like traffic. It's gridlock. So we leave early. Still get stuck in the gridlock. That is the traffic. And we're sitting there and Aldridge is like scoffing, like, because we haven't moved. I looked at the clock. It was 37 minutes. We had not inched 1 inch forward. Like we were just stuck. And what do? Because I am who I am. I get out and I start directing traffic. So I am standing up in the front. I'm
cringing and I wasn't even there.
Oh my God. My sister said the exact same thing. She was like, already know. Because she for a second was like, oh, I love that venue. It's outdoor, blah, blah, blah. Like there's enough space in between people because it's lawn seating. And she was like, were people like this close? I was like, closer. She's like, no, never mind. I take it back. I could not have pulled that shit off. But yeah, so I get out of the car to see what the fuck is going on. I'm walking up and I want to say I'm like 9 car lengths away from the intersection. That is bullshit. And so I go to the traffic directors and I'm like, hey, do you guys think we can get some action over here on this end? And they were like, yeah, we're just so understaffed. I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, dude, honestly, I super appreciate you guys and what you're doing. I know you're doing your best, but we've been sitting there literally haven't moved for 37 minutes, not 1 inch. And they were like, oh, that's bad. I was like, I'm just trying to get my kids home. They're in the car. They're tired, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, well, fuck it. I'm standing here already. And I just I look at that guy. I'm like, you, stop, you, let's go. And I know it was so bad. And so I'm like, I go to one of the traffic directors. I'm like, hey, let me get your vest. He was like, I can't do that. And I was like, okay, let me get your wand. He's like, I can't do that. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to be over here willy-nilly directing traffic. And I'm directing traffic at this point for 20 minutes. It's like everybody's either thanking me or fucking pissed off because I'm making them stop.
Yeah.
Because what was happening were people were cutting across the parking lot too. It was just a shit show.
I'm so glad I wasn't with you.
Yeah, you would have literally gone full Homer Simpson into just any bush. You would have Homer Simpsoned into a cactus about anything. And so this lady gets out of her car. And it just so happens I was right about to jump in the car because Aldridge was already up and it was his turn. I was like, I just need to get my family the fuck out of here. And this lady gets out of the car. I don't know where the fuck she came from, what rock she came, what hole she pulled herself out of. I don't know. She just came out of nowhere. And she comes up to me. She's like, hey, are you okay? And I look at her and I can already see it. She's trying to start something. Bitch, don't start nothing, won't be nothing. I look at her and I go, are you okay? By the way my tone had dropped in my voice, I was like, oh, I'm not putting up with I'm like, ma'am, what? So she goes, well, you're out here directing traffic. I said, I'm trying to get my kids home. It's gridlock. You guys are cutting across this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it's fucking crazy. We've been here for over an hour and it whatever. And she was like, I honestly forget what she says, but Aldridge said something. And I think he was just like, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
First of all, I got mad at him. You don't say anything. I'm like, unless you think I can't handle it, unless you think a man is coming up and out of somewhere, you get to say nothing. You get to watch the interaction until it looks like I can't handle it. Because you jumping in is only going to escalate. Let me handle this shit. So she starts barking at Aldridge and she's like, shut the fuck up. Is yelling in my car. My kids are sleeping in the back seat. bitch, I went full mama bear. She was like leaning like low so she could yell at Aldridge. I go in between her and the car, and we're titty to titty. We had a titty exchange. I'm yelling in her face because she's yelling at my husband and my sleeping kids. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. And I go, goodbye. Goodbye. And I like I'm backing.
You just like keep titty bump.
I'm titty bumping. I'm inching her backwards. And then she finally starts walking away. And her last words, you don't even work here. Ma'am, I know that I don't fucking work here.
Like that was the biggest burn.
Yeah.
You
don't even work here. I'm like, bitch, what did you think was going to happen? You already know that I'm crazy enough to be out here directing traffic. Did you think you were going to like Karen me into my car or something? Did you think you were going to get me to like go away? Like,
she probably was tipsy and was like pissy because she wanted to be home. And then she's like, you were her perfect like scapegoat.
Yeah. And I wish a bitch would. She tried and failed. It was so crazy. And I was she was my height. Mm-hmm. She had really pretty ginger hair. I was like, so like, but she was older-ish. Uh-huh. She's probably had 5 years on me, not like, whatever. Yeah. And I just remember like looking into her eyes. We're like this. I was like,
eye contact.
I was like, if she, because we keep tittying, I go, if she swings on me,
you're going to headbutt her?
No, you savage. Why did you go?
I don't know. You straight to headbutt? You said that you were like eye to eyes, like Fight Club? Eye contact.
No. Okay, Fight Club. Who the fuck are you? Oh my God, that is so funny. You're going to headbutt her? No. I was just thinking.
You were going to kiss her?
No, but I was thinking, I was like, man, I've been doing modified fucking burpees lately. I'm fucking lethal. I'd take this bitch out, And I was like, I've been working out. I'm like, I could take her. I could take, like, thinking in my head, because I'm like, this is good. If this escalates, I will not throw the first punch. I will not push her. I will not whatever. I will titty butt.
Not headbutt her?
Not headbutt her. I will not headbutt her. But I was like, if this goes somewhere, I could take this bitch. I've been working out. And it went nowhere. She went, you don't even work here.
That's such a sick burn.
Oh, God. But I'm like, bitch, what, like, it was just, it was an out of body experience. It was like, and I honestly was so thankful that my kids were sleeping. I don't know how they slept through this lady yelling into my car. Uh-huh. But they did. Oh my God, if they would have woken up and like I don't know what I would have done.
You would have headbutted.
I would have headbutted her. I would have found the Jenna in me.
You think I'm headbutting people?
I don't know.
Headbutting people?
That's the first thing that came to your mind.
Because you said you were like making eye contact. You were like right there. And I was like, all you needed to do was just.
I was like, I could
at.
see that she wanted to push me.
This bitch is out here trying to direct traffic.
Yeah.
I can't gauge whether or not she's crazy enough to headbutt or not.
You know what? I'm not crazy enough to headbutt, but maybe it'll be something. Maybe I'll put that in my artillery. Honestly, it was so crazy because I haven't gotten literally since I was 18. I don't fight. I'm not a fighter. I bark. I stand up for myself because I'm usually like, I'm not going to get like, steamrolled, but I'm not a fighter. I like peace in my that would have been like the worst way to end the night, but I could have. I was like, literally, I was like,
could have, would have.
I was like, I've been working out lately. Like, I could take her if she wants to squabble, but I wasn't gonna do it. I wasn't gonna be the first one. I'm geriatric. Okay, I have no business being out there on the streets of Chula Vista, okay?
Directing traffic,
getting in fights. But I needed to get my kids out of there. And guess what? We got them out. And if it wasn't for me doing that shit, we would have sat there probably.
You'd be here. You'd be there now.
Christine didn't leave until 1:00.
That's kind of like, remember we got stuck in that parking lot for Paramore in Palm Springs?
It was that.
Forever.
It was that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I told Aldridge, I think I'm going to buy a vest. Just keep it in my car. Nobody would know. Nobody would know. Just get out. Go to work.
Oh my God. Will you also get a wand?
Yeah, I feel like it's the whole get up. Oh my God. I was telling Erin and Lil, because we're gonna be, for all you 12 listeners, we're gonna be witches for Halloween. We're gonna have a whole coven. And I was like, maybe I'll be a traffic directing witch, because you know how we're all gonna have like our own themes.
You should wear the traffic cone costume and then put your cape and your hat on top.
Over it. Oh my God, that's so good. Yeah, I don't know. It was like a wild night, but it was, honestly, with the exception of that, it was so much fun. The night was perfection. The boys had so much fun. Aldridge tolerated. They bought $52 chicken, even though I know I was so annoyed, but you know. I let the kids, I chose peace. I was sitting there and I was vibing and, you know, whatever, talking to people. And the kids are like, oh, I'm hungry. I'm like, I'm sure we bought $40 worth of musubis, but sure, go ahead. So I gave them my card, threw some air tags on them, and I said, go get food. They come back, both with food, both with these huge blue cups of sugar, and they were living their best lives.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I 10 out of 10 recommend bringing your kids to an outdoor venue concert. And it's their number one band. So it was like, so that my mama heart is happy.
On the opposite end of that, I took Faye to Dashboard Confessional.
Oh!
And she hated it.
No!
She didn't hate it. She just was like so emo at this emo concert.
She went full.
She was full crisscross on the floor, Shein shopping on my phone.
Oh,
she was like,
her
feet hurt, and it was really late by the time he like actually
came on.
But
oh my God, that's not what I expected. I thought she was gonna love that shit.
She actually really liked this girl at the beginning, Taylor Acorn, who she like really liked because she said that she gave her Avril vibes.
Ooh,
and then she was pretty tired, and it was mostly adults, and so she was like an old adults too.
Like
with also their young kids. There was like a handful.
There were a bunch of kids.
There were young kids, but you could see all the other young kids were also very much like,
Oh, I would hope that like they would like hate it together at least, and like
I don't think that
I don't know, fuck off and
I don't know. It was really funny.
Damn.
But you know what though? I was like, she's going to go to school and then talk mad shit about how her mom took her to a really lame emo concert. And it's going to get her some street cred.
I think it will.
Yeah.
I think all these kids are like, whoa, you went to an emo concert? Like,
what was it like?
Whoa. Was
everyone really sad?
Yeah. Was everybody like wearing eyeliner and like having their hair like
Carissa, Kendra's sister, did wear pink and was possibly the brightest dressed person.
She went? Oh, fun.
It was fun. But anyway, we should like get going.
Oh, okay.
It's been months, seasons.
There was a time where we were like, yeah, let's take the summer off, because I went on family vacations. Jenna went to a whole other ass country, Tokyo, and we were like, oh yeah, let's just take the summer off and be with the kids and blah blah blah. And then it also turned into like September, and then almost October.
It is October.
Yeah, almost October, but we're jumping in.
But you know what I realize is that I believe our first episode was on the 16th or the 17th. Or maybe the 15th, because if we're on a Wednesday, so it was probably on October 15th of last year. So we're like almost like year anniversary.
Wait a minute. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we started in October. And so I was kind of thinking like, we'll just kind of like treat it like season 2 rather than being
I like it.
hardcore. Because can I guarantee that we won't take next summer off and then disappear for like 3 or 4 months? No. So we're just going to kind of treat this as season 2.
Season 2? I like that.
Since it's been like almost a full year since we started. So happy anniversary.
Oh my God. How cute are we? We need to celebrate. What are we going to do?
I know. What that'll be our second one. Oh, that's going to be a fucked up one too.
Ooh,
if we can get through it today. I don't know. I got to protect kids.
We'll see. Yeah.
Here we go. Because,
let's go.
Yeah, we can't bullshit for as long as we did, even though we just did for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then there was full silence while I was texting.
Yeah.
Okay. So because we are in October, I thought that we would have some more spookier cases.
Ooh.
So today we're going to be talking about the Fox sisters. And I think it's kind of important to talk about the Fox sisters when we talk about like spirituality and like spiritual scams, because they kind of were like the first, like they're the originators of like the American, or not even the American, just like the modern seance.
Really?
See.
Oh
my God. I'm Jenna.
Oh, fuck. It always happens. I'm Jess.
I know.
So good.
So talking about the Fox sisters, super important, mostly because there's also this very interesting gray area with them that I think is a little, because obviously they're not around and because of the things that they've said, it's kind of hard to go back on. It's interesting to kind of like feel out what if they actually really did have any sort of intuitive abilities. So John Fox was a fuck up that was trying to get his life together. He and his wife, Margaret, hold on. I need to change my notes.
Margaret.
Yeah. Okay. So John Fox, fuck up, trying to get his life together. He and his wife, Margaret, had a rocky marriage. They married young, had 3 kids, and then separated for a super long time because John was a drunk rascal.
He's a rascal.
I knew that.
I love that.
But they reconciled after John is able to like somewhat pull it together, and they have 2 more kids.
Oh
so
my God.
This leads to a 24-year age gap between their oldest Leah and their youngest Kate.
Bro, I'm already tired.
She saw the light at the end of the tunnel, and she's like,
nah, I'm gonna veer.
Just pop out some more.
I'm gonna restart, bro. No, I'm already tired. Like, why? Why would you do that to yourself? That's terrible.
That is those olden days.
She's either really kind or really dumb, is what I'm thinking. Because if I make 3 humans with a man and I deem him not acceptable, I'm done. I'm not going back in. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, 100.
So they took a long separation.
I actually think that it's like, pretty baller, because back then you didn't really like get divorced, especially like at this is like Dickensian times. Even though they're not in England, this is in Canada, but this is, it's like Victorian era,
right?
Like a little pre-Civil War. So like back then, even separating is kind of like a really big deal.
Yeah.
Which was like kind of baller, and then made him like grovel for like 10
made
years,
him
like 10
pull his
years,
shit together.
Pull it together, and then was like, okay now.
Okay. I mean, when you put it like that, I guess I just don't have that in me. When I look at you and I'm already like, fuck you and your entire being. You've fucked my family over. I have 3 kids with you and you can't pull it together. You're not worthy. Goodbye.
Well, that's because we live in modern times.
That's true.
This will come into play.
Okay.
Though, I think it'll explain probably why she got back together. Somewhat. So Leah, the oldest, had run off and gotten married when she was 13.
Holy fuck.
She moves to Rochester with a man named Bowman Fish.
How old is he?
I think he was a little bit older. He had to have been a little bit older. Definitely like pedo vibes.
Yeah.
So she does have a daughter, but then Bowman Fish up and like leaves them and leaves her a single mother.
Dick.
I know. So in order to support herself and her daughter, Leah starts offering piano lessons, which at the time is like very industrious. So like going back to like being a single mom back then was not easy, because it wasn't easy to earn money as a single woman.
I feel like that's when they typically come to start like selling themselves.
Yeah.
So instead of selling herself, she's selling piano lessons like a bad bitch. Okay.
I know.
Good for her.
And so, worried about Leah, John and Margaret moved themselves and their 2 youngest daughters from Ontario to Hydesville, New York. And that's where John gets a job as a blacksmith.
Okay.
He has never blacksmithed before, but he's just like, I'm going to give it a go.
Tink, tink.
So they move to this new town and they get this cute little cottage that like goes with like the blacksmithery.
Yes.
Is that what it's called?
Do tell. I don't know.
I've been to the blacksmith shop That's what it's called in Old Town.
Okay.
But maybe it's also called the blacksmith.
When I think of, so this is where he's blacksmithing?
Yeah.
Or this is where they're living?
They're living in Hydesville, and he's a blacksmith, and the blacksmith shop has like a little cottage.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
that is on its grounds. So the two girls, Maggie, she's 15, and Kate, and she's 11. Why was that sentence so bad? Why am I redoing that?
Okay.
So
Edit it up.
the two youngest girls, Maggie, who's 15, and Kate, who's 11, were super bored all the time and kind of left to their own devices because they're like in a new town and like they kind of really only have each other.
Yeah.
And so on March 31st, 1848. So again,
holy fuck. Yeah, that's a lot. Okay.
This is Dickensian
times.
Pre-Civil War. That comes into play later.
Okay.
Margaret Fox calls over her neighbor, Mrs. Redfield, who apparently doesn't have a first name.
Oh, okay.
But you know how like back then they were all like Mrs. Redfield, or the Lady Redfield. I don't know.
Lady
Anyway.
of the House Redfield.
So she's this kind of no bullshit neighbor.
Okay.
And so Margaret calls her over and she explains that the past few nights they've been hearing these rapping noises, like knocks. And they were oddly enough starting to communicate with whatever was making the knocking sound. And the spirit, who Kate called Mr. Splitfoot, could correctly communicate all of her children's ages, including the ones that didn't survive.
What?
And it was a spirit, and they were like, "Are you a ghost?" And it was like, "Yes." Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is such a side note, and why Jack is so cute. We have like a little like Ouija board. My mom got it at like Marshall's. It's a cheese plate.
Yeah,
it's like a little platter.
Yeah,
and Jack was like, if we use the Ouija board and we say, "Is there a ghost?" and it says no, does that mean that there is a ghost or there is no ghost?
No. Why is he so fucking smart? I love him so much.
He was like, dying. I love it. Anyway, so they were like, "Is there a spirit?" And the spirit was like, yes.
He's like, does that mean the ghost is lying to it? We have not only a ghost, but it's a liar ghost? Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a ghost. So they're like, "Is there a ghost?" And it's like, "Knock, knock, knock. Yeah, I'm a ghost." And the girls are like, seem genuinely scared. And Margaret Fox wasn't someone who was like impractical or kind of like swept away by like any sort of like fantasy. And so Mrs. Redfield was like, okay, but then was like, "All right, spirit, what's my age?" And it like counted like 38
so many knocks
or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I like how also in the story kept being like Mrs. Redfield, and she was like 38. And I was like, oh.
I'm like, she's like my age, literally my age right now. I am Mrs. Galimba.
Oh, the Lady Galimba.
The Lady Galimba.
Okay, so it correctly taps out her age. So then she calls her husband, and then her husband starts asking questions, and then they get the answer's right. And so they call more people, and they're like, "What the fuck is happening?" And then like they're so kind, because then they're like, "Spirit, were you murdered? Are you okay? Can we find some justice for you?"
Oh my God. They're like, "Let me do you a solid. I'm still I could try." Oh my God.
I know. So rather than just be kind of like, demons, they were like, "Let us help you.
Let me right your wrong."
So the story that they gathered was that years ago on a Tuesday night at midnight, Mr. Splitfoot was murdered in the east bedroom via neck slashing for whatever little money he had, and afterward he was buried in the cellar.
Oh, that's awful.
So the next night, more people come to hear the rappings. They call them rappings, like
that's
throughout
wild.
this whole thing.
I can't hear, like when you say rappings, I'm all picky. Like in my head.
I have a hard time figuring out what the rappings are, because like in my mind, it just sounds like knock.
Yeah.
But then later on, they explain what it is, and I can't wrap my head around it.
No, okay.
It's going to be a surprise. You're going to be like, "What the fuck?" Okay. So the next night, more people come to hear the rappings. It's estimated that hundreds came to visit.
Holy shit.
And it got so popular that the little cottage was dubbed the Spook House and made the papers.
Oh my God.
It was like a whole thing. The two older siblings, Marie and David, even came to the house to stay and tried to help dig up the cellar so they could find the body and give it a proper burial.
Aww.
But they couldn't find anything because they had a really heavy rain and the basement was flooded. And so every time they dug, more water.
It was just water coming in. Like,
yeah.
It was doomed. Yeah.
So like most small countryside villages in the 1800s, Hydesville was very religious. And though the girls' claims made them wildly popular, it also did not go down well with the church.
No.
And the minister in Hydesville accused the girls of practicing witchcraft.
I was just going to say it's going to get very Salem witch trial-y up in her.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I'm surprised it didn't sooner.
Yeah.
I'm surprised people were like, ooh, let's check this. I mean, there is a good 100 years between the two.
Okay.
So there's that.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised people right off the bat were like, ooh, a ghost.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Let's go.
Let's
yeah.
go see what's up. Rather than just
let's go listen to it rap.
Witch.
Yeah.
So the Foxes send Kate to live with her brother David and Maggie to live with Leah in Rochester, thinking, okay, if we separate them, we can figure out which girl is the source of the rappings. But the rappings continued, and then just both girls ended up with Leah in Rochester.
See, without even them there. So it's like...
Yeah. Well, no, not with the girl. They weren't in the house. They were like, which girl is the source of the rappings? But both houses had the rappings. So they were like, okay, separating them did nothing.
Shit.
Let Leah take them. And so Leah takes them. She's like 35 at the time. An old spinster of 35.
Yeah. Ooh.
So Rochester in the mid-19th century was wild. And in the best way. Like, I loved learning about Rochester. Because... when you think of like any town in that era, you kind of think of like sexism and like religious fervor and like racism and like any stifling of free thought like around that era, right? But Rochester was like it.
Really?
It was it. So in 1947, 1847. My notes said 19. I clearly just...
Yeah.
So in 1847, so this is a year prior to those events, Frederick Douglass... Do you know Frederick Douglass?
I know the name.
He escaped slavery in Maryland.
Yes.
So he was a big proponent, obviously a proponent of abolition, but he was a big voice in the abolition movement. So he launched his newspaper, The North Star, the year before the girls came to Rochester.
I am loving this. Okay.
Also brewing at the time was the women's suffrage movement. Susan B. Anthony lived in Rochester.
Stop it!
Along with Abigail Bush and Amy Post, she was organizing the convention to garner support for the women's right to vote.
Oh my God, I love this so much.
Which brings me to Amy Post.
Okay.
Amy Post... her life was super wild, but long story, I could have done a whole post. It would have had nothing to do with any sort of spiritually fuckedness.
Right.
But she was super dope. So long story short, she was a Quaker who married her sister's widow, but like not in a shady way. Like her sister was dying, and so she came to take care of her sister, and then she stayed to kind of help take care of affairs, and they both grieved together, and they like fell in like love.
It wasn't like weirdness.
No, it wasn't like anything weird or like arranged.
It just was natural.
Yeah. So Isaac Post, her husband, was a pharmacist, and they were like very well-to-do in Rochester, and they lived a very devout Quaker life, which meant coming together with their community and holding hands, which is like a big deal at the time.
Okay.
And trying to channel the word of God.
Oh.
So that is like kind of, when you think of a seance now.
Yeah.
That's
kind
of
a seance. They were seancing before seance.
It was kind of how they prayed or how they worshipped. So eventually the Posts end up leaving the church because the fact that some Quakers said that they were people of God but were like totally cool with slavery just didn't sit well.
Didn't vibe. Yep.
They were like,
I like it.
I don't like that. So they left the church. And so they were good friends of many who sought refuge in Rochester. They not only allowed John Fox and his family to stay with them when they were passing through town, but they also hosted Frederick Douglass, obviously, and Sojourner Truth. She is an escaped slave who spoke about abolition and the women's suffrage movement. She was
what is her name again?
Sojourner Truth.
That is such a cool name.
It's not her given name. It's her...
That's what she said.
That's what she named herself because she freed herself of her slave name.
Boom shakalaka. Good for her.
So Leah Fox was a friend of Amy Post. And when she learned the gifts of her younger sisters were said to have possessed, she invited them to like come stay with her. She was like, you can let your sister stay with me. And then she was dumbstruck by the information that the quote unquote spirit was able to convey to her.
Oh.
She was also shocked when Leah, water. She was super shocked when Leah, which as far as everyone knew up until this point didn't have powers, started communicating with Post's recently deceased daughter and Amy's sister / Isaac's first wife. So she invited some of her more radical Quaker friends to come and meet with the Fox sisters, who performed their rappings for the community, and it would turn into like an abolitionist meeting or like a suffragette meeting. And soon they had people wanting one-on-one meetings, hoping to speak to their dead loved ones. So they held multiple seances a week.
That is wild. That is so crazy. Okay.
So again,
look at them go.
They're not charging any money.
No.
They're just like doing
They're happy to connect, you know, people
just,
to their loved ones that have passed.
Yeah. So they were getting like a couple of tips here and there just for people to do the good work.
Yeah.
But
because I think when people are so grateful, they don't know what to do, how to, you know, you feel like you need to compensate them in some way. So I get that. That is so fucking crazy. So just the one sister is there though.
No, those are all three sisters. So all three sisters are there.
Oh, they are all there. Okay,
and they all three now have these powers.
That's so fucking crazy.
Yeah. So the girls were even invited to the Seneca Falls Convention and held a seance there for Elizabeth Cady Stanton.
Nope. I know.
Leader of women's suffrage movement.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Where she was like, women should vote.
Oh my God. This is like a rad space. No wonder. Okay. I like
it. Very, very cool. So despite their popularity, again, sisters had their skeptics. So they decided to put on a show. So November 1849.
Okay.
I was making sure I didn't put 19. Amy Post rented out Corinthian Hall, which was the largest venue in Rochester. They performed for 3 nights, charging, and this is rumored, I couldn't find the exact amount, but almost everything said 25 cents a head. And Leah and Maggie performed a public seance. Kate was off at school.
That is so fucking crazy. Okay.
Afterward, a team of investigators looking to discredit the sisters would go into a back room, strip them down, and ask them to perform things so that they could make sure that they weren't like fucking with them.
Okay. But not literally strip them down. They're not like naked.
Yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm.
The fuck?
Yeah. And so they couldn't find anything. And they were so pissed they end up storming the hall and have to cancel the last night because the girls have to be like escorted out by police.
Oh my God.
Because they were like so pissed they couldn't find something.
Yeah.
So after that, they held private seances for $1 a person in Leah's home. And they got so popular that they started to take the show on the road and toured the U.S. Around this time, the sisters caught the attention of Horace Greeley, the editor of the New York Tribune. And he was also like a senator and like blah, blah, blah later.
Right,
but anyway,
right.
At this time, he's just the editor of the New York Tribune. He invited Kate to live with him and his wife while she attended private school nearby. But as soon as she moved in, Greeley was off in Manhattan working, and she was left with Mrs. Greeley, who was so distraught after losing her son that she forced Kate night after night to have a seance so she could talk to him.
To connect with him? That is the saddest shit.
I know. And she wrote letters begging to be brought home, but Leah and her mom were like, we don't want to cross Horace Greeley. He's
right.
Like
he's too powerful. Yeah.
So like you
gotta
stay.
Or figure out a way to finesse your ass out of that joint because you know.
So she's left there for months.
Oh, that sucks.
And begins drinking because she's got very little parental supervision.
Yeah.
So she's 13 when she starts hitting the bottle hard.
Shit.
I know.
And she's still in school?
She's still in school.
Okay.
Right. I know. She's 13.
She's 13.
I don't know. Her sister did get married at 13.
Private school. 13.
So Leah remarries and moves to New York City, where she hosts her younger sisters when they weren't touring.
Mm-hmm.
And spiritualism is blowing up. And it wasn't just the Fox sisters who were holding these public demonstrations. Mary Todd Lincoln was arranging seances in the White House.
Oh, wow.
Pre-assassination, too. This isn't like even after. Thomas Edison was trying to invent a spirit phone to talk to the dead.
Oh, my God.
The Curies, like Marie Curie and her husband, they were even attending seances in Paris. Like, it was like a whole...
It was a whole thing.
It was becoming a whole thing.
Yeah.
And in 1952, Maggie meets Elisha Kent Kane.
Are you 19ing again? You mean 18?
Did I?
Yeah.
Yeah, not the 1950s, the 1850s. So 1852, Maggie meets Elisha Kent Kane. And this also was super fucking wild. And I went on a whole tangent and it could have been its own story. But he was a Navy medic and Arctic explorer looking for the lost expedition of the HMS Terror.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Having just returned, and there's a TV show even about the Terror. Also, that it's called the Terror. The ship goes missing in the Arctic.
That is wild. I love that type of shit.
So, having just returned from looking for the Terror and coming up empty-handed, he kind of just tries his luck with a medium to be like, maybe she can give me some information. And he leaves thinking this chick is a fraud, but then keeps returning.
Okay.
And eventually it's like he's coming back because he has a crush on Maggie.
Oh, okay.
And so they fall in love, and his family is like, fuck no, because they're super Catholic. And they were like,
she's spooky. Yeah.
They're like, we don't want this spooky bitch. We
keep her at bay. We don't fuck around like that.
Yeah. And so Maggie does everything she can to get in their good graces. She gives up mediumship.
No.
She goes to school.
Okay.
They write letters back and forth for like 7 years.
Because they're in love.
They're like in love.
Yeah.
And so he goes up on another expedition because he thought he could he's like, okay, I'm going to make my own money so that I'm not dependent on my parents, and then we can get married.
And then we can do whatever. Yeah. I don't have to listen to them.
So he goes on another expedition to look for the Terror. And he's like, I'm going to write a book about it. That's how I'm going to, like, a second book about it. And that's how I'm going to be able to support us. And he returns from the second voyage, unsuccessful yet again, and goes to work writing a second book, does his book tour, but his health is like not good.
No.
And so he's invited to England to meet the wife of the captain of the HMS Terror, and he goes, but before he goes, him and Maggie secretly get married.
Yes.
And there are letters that do confirm that, like, back and forth, he was like, yes, we are married.
Yeah.
So it's not like she just made it up to be like, I have some claim.
Yeah.
But on his trip to England,
I thought that sicker.
Yeah, he gets sicker. And so his crew is like, let's go to Havana. Maybe the warm, like, weather will help. And it doesn't. So on February 16th, 1957, he dies.
That is the saddest shit. So they never even got to, like, enjoy each other and be married. Like, I feel like romance back in the day was so, like,
so hard.
Yeah.
I know. So upon his death, his family denies that him and Maggie were ever married, and she's left with nothing. And she ends up suffering a nervous breakdown and converting to Catholicism to like honor him.
Oh God.
And swears off spiritualism. I think she has to eventually like go back to doing some seances because she needs to support herself.
To make some money.
But during this time, Kate was getting wily with her seances.
Oh, I bet she was, because she was hitting that bottle.
So spirits now were speaking through Morse code. So she was able to be like, beep, 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 beep. Also, she was claiming that she was channeling the spirit of Benjamin Franklin.
Oh, okay.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Leah moves on to her third husband, a man named Daniel Underhill, who was a spiritualist as well. So they seemed to be like a really good match.
Oh.
And he was rich. So she was like doing really well for herself. She's like
everything is coming up.
Society. And she's just like really feeling herself. And so in 1865, both John and Margaret Fox die of typhoid fever. So the parents. So like full Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
typhoid fever.
Typhoid, dysentery. Yep.
This sends Kate into somewhat of a downward spiral. She begins drinking excessively, and to keep her on the straight and narrow, friends arranged for her to stay with a doctor named George Taylor, who provided treatment in return for seances with his dead children. What's so sad is that there's so many people who have dead children that's all they want.
All they want.
Is this connection to them.
I feel like it's such a cruel thing to outlive your children. I can't wrap my head around that.
Yeah. So Kate also gave sittings for some of his patients, one of whom was a woman named Harriet Beecher Stowe, claimed that she saw glowing lights at this meeting, and she said, quote, "They were like the dear light of a glowworm. They touched me on my arm, and I felt they had a strong resistant force. One of them struck the table with a loud report like the firing of a pistol." She also described, unquote, how her husband was moved back from the table 4 feet to the wall.
Oh, wow.
Chair and all, and then placed again at the table.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know how that happened. No. Harriet Beecher Stowe does not seem like someone who's about to lie about things like that. Mm-hmm. So it's just interesting. In 1871, Kate traveled to England where she met H.D. Jenkin, who she fell in love with, married, had 2 sons, and she continued to work as a medium, but also subjected herself to paranormal experiments.
What?
I know. Just to, prove that, she was legit.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So Maggie even comes to live in England with her because she's, now widowed and doesn't really have, many prospects, I guess, in New York. But in 1881, H.D. Jenkin dies, so they move back to America to stay with Leah for a short time before continuing on to stay with their brother David. What's also fucked up is that in 1885, Leah publishes a book called The Missing Link in Modern Spiritualism, a history of the Fox family. The book is very Leah-centric, but it's about their, rise to fame, and she very much exploits the girls while distancing herself from some of the scandals that kind of came with them.
That's convenient.
Mm-hmm. This pissed Kate and Maggie right the fuck off.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Later that year, Kate was arrested after being found drunk at home.
Wow. I would be arrested most times. I'm not most nights, but once a week.
So it's very odd. So she's charged with the neglect of her children, who were 14 and 12 at the time.
They're already
and they were
getting married and hitting the bottle.
I know. Well, they're sent off to an orphanage, which I was like, that's awful.
That's aggressive.
But also, isn't 12 and 14 working age back then?
Yes.
Wasn't that factory?
If they can get married at 13,
they go sell some papes on the street of New York.
Right? Where's your hat?
Right? Yeah.
Where's your hat?
Get your hat.
Yeah.
Anyway, so news of this reaches Maggie, who was in England at the time, and she sends a cable claiming to be Kate's late husband's brother and is like, "Release the kids to Kate. I give permission." And they were like, okay.
I love it so much.
So Kate gets the kids back and they flee to England with Maggie. Both sisters suspected that the arrest
some boss
was
bitch
arranged.
shit.
I know. I like how they were like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
That's all it took?
All it took was just a letter.
Yeah.
Pretending to be somebody.
I know.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Shouldn't you have verified?
I know. Nope.
They're like, all right.
Oh, it shall be true.
Yeah. So the sisters suspect that the arrest, which was arranged by Leah to gain control over Kate and her kids and to keep Kate in line. And she was now part of New York society, and this is the Gilded Age, and it's all about rumors and keeping people in line and kind of burying stories. So they suspect this is part of Leah's play to kind of push them into obscurity. And during this time, spiritualism was not what it once was. Everyone is I don't know. We've just lived through a pretty hard war. Shit is there's all this money flowing in. So people are a little bit more distracted by the reconstruction and building things.
Right.
And there's a lot more scammers than that have been publicly known.
People trying to get their hands on that money.
Who's that's not true. I'll prove it.
Mm-hmm.
And these girls, they're known for being loud and drunk, and it's not really helping their respectability. So they're having a hard time making money anyway.
Right.
So they try to save face by getting loud about how fake mediums are making it hard for the real ones.
Okay.
They're like, you know, these people, they're so fake. It's just making it hard for us.
We're the real deal.
Mediums. And so they go on like this, and it seems to not be working. And then Maggie soon just grows tired of the bullshit. And in an attempt to get back at Leah, gives an interview to the New York Herald.
Uh-oh.
And she says, and this is a quote, "When spiritualism first began, Katie and I were little children, and this old woman, my other sister,"
she's so shady. I love it.
"made us her tools. Mother was a silly woman. She was a fanatic. I call her that because she was honest. She believed in those things. We were but little innocent children. What did we know? We grew to know too much. Our sister used us in her exhibitions, and we made money for her. Now she turns upon us because she's the wife of a rich man, and she opposes us both wherever she can. Oh, I am after her. You can kill sometimes without using weapons, you know."
Oh my God.
She also goes on to say that communication with the dead is impossible. She knows because she's tried many times unsuccessfully to contact Elisha Kent Kane, and she would soon reveal how she tricked everyone. On
Shit, she's earth scorching.
She is earth scorchy, which I get it.
I get
it, girl.
Mm-hmm.
On October 21st, 1888.
Mm-hmm, I like it.
Yeah. She read a statement at the New York Academy of Music in front of a large crowd with her sister Kate in attendance. This is like a really long statement. I don't know if I should read it, but basically,
Cliff Notes.
She says, basically, they figured out, they were super bored and figured out they could like crack their toes and like find out ways to like crack their joints that made it look like they weren't moving at all. And so they started just like messing with like their mom. And then she was like, "Is there a spirit there?" And then they'd go like crack, 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 crack. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It gets out of hand. Because then there's all these people.
They're like, wait a minute, this animal is getting too big.
Yeah, it got too big and they were scared of getting in trouble. So then they just kept
They're like, we gotta keep going.
And they just kept practicing. She was like, because we were young, we were able to crack our like bones like that because they weren't fully formed yet. And we were able to do it as adults because we had so much practice. And so she says that they go to live with her sister, and her sister sees it as an opportunity to earn money and raise her station in life.
Yeah.
So then they all start working together.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. So the whole time
they were just like, crack, crack, crack.
Oh my God.
Cracking their toes.
I was in full belief, like literally full. And this poor Kate, Kate.
Yeah.
She's over here hitting the bottle, telling this lady about her son who had passed away for months. Like, just crack, 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 crack. Like, oh my God. That's so fucking crazy.
Isn't it?
It is wild.
Yeah.
I didn't see this coming. This is fucking crazy. They had me.
Yeah, for sure. So she claims that Leah was pocketing $150 a night and leaving them with nothing.
$100? That's so much money.
So much money. Back then. I mean, that's a lot of money now. Give me $150 a night.
Yeah, I'm solid.
I can crack my toes.
Hold on. I can practice. I can figure it out.
Yeah, I can practice. So not only did she call out Leah as a fake, but she called out all of spiritualism as being fake. And she was like, I'm going to burn it all down.
Yes.
None of this is real. So they start touring to disprove spiritualism, which ended up being like pretty lucrative.
Yeah, okay, here they go.
And then a year later, Maggie recants her confession. And despite her attempt to take down like her sister, she remained largely unscathed.
Really?
Yeah. She died a year later in 1890 of inflammation of the heart at 78.
That's a long time to live, 78?
Yeah, back then.
Back then, that was a long time.
Yeah.
How did they know that their heart got big?
I don't know. Assuming an autopsy.
Oh, okay.
So 2 years later, Kate died. Remember, there's like a 20-year age gap between...
Damn!
Or 24-year age gap between
the two.
So she died in 1892 at 55 of alcoholism. And then a year after that, Maggie dies of heart trouble at 59.
Oh, shit.
But I'm curious because I do believe largely that it was a scam. However, some of the things I'm like, I feel like maybe Kate was intuitive.
There had to be something there.
I think that they are really good at reading people and doing a lot of like open, what do they called it? Like a cold read, hot reads where they like get information about, you know,
something.
Ask
and then they also
in a leading way.
Right. And then they also know how to crack their toes and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I guess was the skill
that was that combination, man. I tell you what. That is so fucking crazy. No, they had to have had like something or just they knew how to direct the conversation. But they had me. I didn't see that coming.
Well, they said that they would look, they had like signals where Leah would be like, if they were doing a seance, Leah would kind of be at the back of the room being like, okay, knock now. Like knock yes or knock no.
Jesus Christ.
Because she knew things about her neighbors that the girls didn't know.
Right.
And they would be like, why would these young girls know this about me?
How would they? So they must be true.
And I guess Leah just was like, oh, let me get in on this shit.
Yeah. That is so crazy.
But also, get it, girl. You're a single mom.
You know what?
I respect your hustle. Works too hard, who loves the kids and never stop.
Oh my God.
Reba?
Are you countrying?
I am.
Since when do you country?
I only Reba.
Oh.
The show.
Ah.
The show, not the...
I know, because I knew the song, but I was like, wait a minute, you singing country? Hold on. What's happening right now? It's the theme song for her show. It was a good show.
It was a good show.
Yeah, I really enjoyed
Barbara
her.
Jean.
Yeah, I really enjoyed her.
Barbara Jean. But yeah, what should we call this one?
This one is...
Toes Crackalackin'?
Them toes be crackalackin'.
Toes be crackalackin'.
So good.
It is so good.
Crackalackin' rip rappin'.
I know. But yeah, this one was like really fun.
That was
actually,
fun.
there's a podcast called The Foxes of Hydesville, and it's a dramatic retelling from Leah's point of view. And oh my gosh, what is her name? Carrie Mulligan.
Okay.
It's got Carrie Mulligan. She plays Leah Fox.
Okay.
And it's a really fun kind of like retelling of the story.
Yeah.
And all of the fervor. It's like kind of like an audio drama.
Yeah.
It's really fun. So I highly recommend it. I'll put it in the show notes. If I remember again, because no one ever really follows the show notes.
Yeah, let us know if you look for show notes.
Not a damn person has ever been like, Mommy, you know what? I show notes.
Yeah. Hey, do me a favor. Even when I'm like, oh yeah, I really want to like look into that, or I really want to blah, blah, blah. And I think that to myself, I also do not go look into the show notes.
No.
But, you know, it is what it is.
I feel like now that I've said it, someone in the show notes is going to be like, or someone in the comments is going to be like,
where
I
are
really
my show
wish
notes?
I did show notes.
Yeah. Where are my show
I
notes?
don't got time.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I'm busy dragging my kids to emo concerts they don't want to go to.
Oh my God. I love it so much. It surprises me though. I feel like I could see her totally like getting down. But she was like, give me your phone. I'm just gonna sit here, crisscross applesauce.
Be on Hot Topic.
Yeah.
Looking at
Mom
creepers.
Mom, I'm gonna Apple Pay this shit. I'm gonna go ahead and check out.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, thank you for listening. We are so happy to be back.
Yes, we are happy to be back. Thank you guys for being so generous with your kindness, because we also didn't tell you guys we were leaving. So there's that.
Yeah. We just were like, surprise, we're gone.
Yeah.
Surprise, we're back.
Surprise, we're gone. Surprise, we're back. Sorry for the whiplash, but we're happy. This is my shit. I'm happy to be back here.
All right. Thank you for listening.
And thank you.
Bye.
Bye.